The Azerbaijan Grand Prix weekend was billed as another showcase of McLaren's growing dominance in Formula One. Both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri had opened the weekend by setting the pace in the first practice session, sending a loud reminder to Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes that McLaren remained the team to beat in this championship battle. Confidence was high, the tone was set, and their rivals were left with more questions than answers. But in Formula One, especially on the unforgiving streets of Baku, things can change in a heartbeat. And by the time the afternoon session ended, McLaren's dream weekend looked like it was unraveling before their eyes. Norris found himself in the wall after a costly mistake. Piastri endured multiple brushes with danger, and an investigation into the Australian threatened to destabilize his championship campaign. Suddenly, McLaren's golden start had flipped into a storyline full of uncertainty and pressure. While Ferrari fans celebrated a 1-2 in the session led by Lewis Hamilton, beneath the surface the reality was far more complicated. The lap times didn't tell the full story. Beneath them were whispers of tension, concern, and politics that could define the trajectory of this title fight. Did McLaren overstep the limit too early in the weekend? Has Piastri's championship lead made him a bigger target for scrutiny from the stewards? And what does Norris's crash mean for the already delicate rivalry within McLaren? This wasn't just another Friday practice session. It felt like a genuine turning point in the championship narrative, one that could have far-reaching consequences for the rest of the season. If you're passionate about Formula One and want to stay on top of the drama as it unfolds in real time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because what's happening here in Baku might just shape the destiny of the 2025 World Championship. The cracks in McLaren's title fight have never been clearer than they are now. On paper, this should have been a weekend that reinforced their authority. Both Norris and Piastri showed their class in the morning, with a 1-2 finish that screamed intent and confidence. That kind of dominance is exactly the psychological edge championship contenders love to demonstrate. It unsettles rivals, builds momentum, and sets the tone for the rest of the weekend. But in Formula One, especially on a street circuit as unforgiving as Azerbaijan, momentum can vanish in an instant. And that's exactly what happened. Norris entered the weekend with a sense of urgency. He trails Piastri by 31 points in the standings, and every remaining race has essentially become a must-win scenario for him if he wants to claw his way back into contention. That pressure showed as he pushed the limits in FP2. But there's a razor-thin line between bravery and recklessness on a circuit like Baku, and Norris found it the hard way at turn 4. His collision with the wall wasn't just about damaged suspension and a broken wheel rim. It was a symbolic dent in his title aspirations. Crashes like this carry a heavy psychological cost. When you're already playing catch-up in the standings, the last thing you need is a very public mistake that feeds into the narrative of inconsistency. In that moment, the perception shifted further in Piastri's favor. The Australian looked calmer, sharper, and better equipped to handle the mounting pressure. Norris's frustrated radio call, "I'm in the wall, tires gone," was more than just an update to his team. It sounded like a driver fully aware of the weight of his situation. In today's hyper-competitive Formula One environment, where Ferrari and McLaren are trading blows while Red Bull lurks in the background waiting to pounce, there is absolutely no margin for error. Every incident matters. Every crash carries the risk of swinging the championship pendulum in the other direction. Norris admitted it was a costly mistake, and he's right. Not because of immediate points lost in practice, but because of momentum lost heading into qualifying and the race. On the other side of the garage, Piastri's day was slightly less dramatic, but no less telling. He avoided major damage, but wasn't flawless. His near misses at turn 15 and a heavy lockup at turn 2 were reminders of just how demanding Baku can be, even for a championship leader. These weren't race-ending mistakes, but they were signals that even Piastri is being pushed to the absolute edge. Yet the biggest moment came not on track, but in the steward's room. Piastri found himself under investigation for allegedly failing to properly lift for yellow flags after Pierre Gasly ran wide at turn 1. In Formula One, yellow flags are sacred. Ignoring them can bring severe punishments, from grid penalties to disqualification, and the championship picture can change instantly. For a tense few minutes, McLaren fans held their breath. If Piastri had been hit with a grid drop, it could have blown the title race wide open and handed Norris and Ferrari a massive lifeline. In the end, the stewards decided that while Piastri had technically breached the rules, there were mitigating factors. He escaped with only a reduced penalty, avoiding a major hit to his campaign. Crisis averted for now, but the whole episode leaves behind serious questions. Did the stewards show leniency because Piastri is the championship leader? Or was it simply a fair and measured interpretation of the regulations? Whatever your opinion, one thing is clear. The margins in this championship are razor thin. One mistake, one judgment call, could flip the entire title race on its head. This is where the Norris-Piastri rivalry becomes fascinating. Norris has raw speed, no one doubts that. He topped FP1, and even his unfinished laps in FP2 hinted at genuine pace. Charles Leclerc himself admitted that McLaren looked like they were operating in another world before Norris's crash. But raw speed is meaningless if it isn't paired with consistency. And consistency is exactly what Piastri has delivered this season. Despite his brushes with danger, he has repeatedly walked away with strong finishes, podiums, and points. That ability to play the long game is what separates great drivers from merely fast ones. In a championship fight, it's not about who sets the fastest single lap. It's about who can minimize mistakes and keep stacking results. Ferrari, meanwhile, had a session that looked spectacular on paper. Lewis Hamilton, now in his first season with Ferrari, topped the timesheets with Leclerc just 0.074 seconds behind him, marking the team's first meaningful 1-2 in months. For Hamilton, this was more than just a quick lap. It felt like vindication. After months of struggling with breaking points, setups, and adapting to Ferrari's unique car characteristics, Hamilton finally looked comfortable, aggressive, and confident. His radio message, "Thank the Lord," was as much about relief as it was about gratitude. It symbolized a potential turning point in his Ferrari journey. But even Hamilton acknowledged the bigger picture. Practice times can be deceptive. Leclerc himself said he expected everyone to be surprised come qualifying, because McLaren's raw pace, despite the setbacks, still looked frightening. That's the nature of Baku. Appearances can deceive. A team can look down and out in practice only to roar back when it matters most. And McLaren has the potential to do exactly that. Yet for McLaren fans, the uncomfortable truth is that their biggest enemy might not be Ferrari or Red Bull. It might be themselves. The Norris-Piastri rivalry is becoming the defining story of the season. Every mistake, every investigation, every heated radio exchange fuels the narrative. Can McLaren manage the egos and ambitions of their two drivers without compromising their championship campaign? If they let the rivalry spiral out of control, the consequences could be devastating. More crashes, more lost points, and more opportunities for Ferrari, or even Red Bull, to capitalize. That's why this practice session, seemingly insignificant on the surface, matters more than the timesheet suggests. Norris's crash and Piastri's yellow flag incident aren't isolated blips. They're warning signs. Warning signs that under the crushing weight of a title fight, even the smallest crack can quickly turn into a fracture. And in a championship this competitive, fractures can be fatal. So the question is clear. Is McLaren's title campaign starting to implode under the pressure of its own success? Or was this just a small stumble in an otherwise dominant season? And perhaps most importantly, will Piastri's narrow escape from the stewards be remembered as a lucky break, or the first sign of cracks in his armor? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because Baku has once again proven why it's one of the most dramatic and unpredictable races on the Formula One calendar, and the story of this championship is far from over.